County Commissioners Court order, everyone please rise. This time I ask you to join me in prayer, please. Father God, we come to you today, gathered here as people that are concerned and interested in the ways of our government and the service to the constituents that we have throughout this county. But Father, bigger than all of that is what you have given us and blessed this country and the state and this county. We ask that you guide the leadership from the top to the bottom, that we all think and pray and look for guidance from you before we act. Father, forgive us of our sins. Watch after those that are out there on the front lines, whether they're far or they're near. They offer themselves in service to one another. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. You join me in pledge allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Texas pledge.
On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Take seats, please. At this time, I ask for any public comment. Anyone in the audience who wishes to speak? Mr. Hampton.
Judge and Commissioners, I just wanted to brag on our IT department. Friday, I lost all my ability to get on the internet, and my printers quit working on me. And contacted those guys, and they came right over there this morning, and they're working on it as we speak. And the reason I brag on them is, you know, this building is full of that kind of stuff. And we have a limited amount of personnel and resources, and yet they always seem to make time to fix all of our junk. I know that's a technological term, but gives you an idea how profound I am in that regard.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. They don't always get those comments, but they told me they put new batteries in your Etch-a-Sketch and you should be working. I'm sorry, Rob. Bob and I have known each other since junior high.
And after that wonderful prayer too.
Yeah, well, you know, what is that? Something goes before,
So it's going to be one of those kind of days, ain't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Thank you all very much. Mr. Hampton, appreciate you passing that kind of thing off. We fail to do that often enough for many services and different. Okay, I'd ask the court to take action on the consent agenda, or bring down, or ask for clarification on any of the items.
Judge, I had a question on item 4. I just wanted to understand what that order was.
Jeff, that's the biggest portion of that is the change order that we approved 2 weeks ago for the shower pans. There are some additional items that we have had IOCCs that have already come through the court that have been approved. The largest of those were floor drain pitch issue that was in the detox cells, that we had to re-pitch the floor drains so they would drain appropriately, since there's nothing else in the detox cells except a hole in the floor. They were not draining properly. There was an item that I had discovered in my initial walks, an issue with how the support legs from the catwalk were very close to a CME wall, which provided a potential pinch point. It could have been an issue where somebody could have broken an arm or a leg or whatever with that, so we asked that to be corrected. The other large amount was how the sheriff's office wanted the TVs mounted, which was different than what was done in the original contract. They did not want them attached to the catwalk mezzanine. They wanted them suspended from the ceiling, so that was an $11,488 change that we had previously
Just
approved.
vandalism is less likely.
Vandalism is less likely. There were some other smaller issues. Water cooler, upon moving into the building A, the water fountain in the lobby area was not exact, it wasn't a vandal-proof water fountain that we had wanted. So we're moving that one to a different location and swapping some things around. So that was another smaller charge. Some other small things, multi-purpose day room frame, door frames. Instead of using the big paracentric key, the large key, we wanted to, or the staff wanted to use the smaller key to access those. They don't have to carry the big jail key around. So that was one of the issues that was changed. That's most of it, that accounts for most of it, so.
But we still know the shower job to be roughly that one.
Yeah, 200, it's on this change order for $216,984.
That's only because there's some credits coming back on the back end of it.
Right.
So it'll still be back down there, what we talked about before.
So, yeah, each of these IOCCs have been through court. It's just why we've done the other change orders. They've all been previously approved. We just wait to gather
Lump them together.
a lump of them and put them on a change order.
Judge, item 6, we're donating mobile and portable two-way radios. We may need a couple of those in the precincts. Just make sure that, can we check with Mr. Burgoyne?
Would y'all let him know?
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure we had a shot at that, because I know we've got a couple pieces of equipment that need one. So that might be a good opportunity to take care of that.
Good deal.
Didn't we approve that rider program extension last week?
This was an additional request.
Oh, okay.
We talked about it in the work session.
Okay, very good. I just thought I saw it on there, but maybe not. That's
Yeah,
fine.
I signed it and sent it out. And all you'll do is ratify it, but they
Okay.
want to get the letter on it and all that. Boy, I'm sure that.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any comments, questions, anyone in the audience? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries 5-0. Item number 1 is to review and approve the regular bills for payment.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any comments, questions on the bills? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Watts to approve the regular bills for payment. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried 5-0. Okay. Item number 2 is discussion with Tricia Sewell of Direct Energy regarding Wichita County's electricity bills. Commissioner Watts, you brought this up.
Yes, Teresa, Andrea, thank y'all for being here today. Our partners with Direct Energy, and Teresa has replaced Andrea in her position and is going to tell us kind of what our overview looked like of energy last year.
Morning, Judge, morning, Commissioners. Thanks for having us. I'm glad to see you guys in person again and see everyone is well and healthy. As Commissioner Watts mentioned, I'm still around. I just taken a different role where I am now managing the sales team. And Teresa is going to be handling y'all's account going forward. But I'm still hanging around. Love to see you guys anytime. So just wanted you guys to introduce you to Teresa. Another piece of business before I go over this fun data with you guys is may have seen that Direct Energy was recently acquired by NRG. We are thrilled with the news. The closure just went through January 5th. If you're not familiar with NRG name, you may be more familiar with Reliant. They are one of the brand entities under NRG. So we are still working out how we're all going to work together underneath the NRG name. And nothing changes, so your contract that's in place with us until October 2025 is still underneath the Direct Energy name. I believe you guys did a contract with Reliant until 2032, so if anything, we just made y'all's lives that much easier. We're all under the
Good.
same company. Teresa will obviously be around. Whoever your rep was for Reliant agreement, that person will still be your contact for now, for the time being, for that contract when it starts in 2025.
And Andrea, I don't know that we specifically, we probably had a rep help us with that proposal, but no one came,
Third,
not like
okay.
you, and so we're not familiar with any
got it.
given person, so.
Well, the good thing is, we're all now part of
Sure.
one company, so, I mean, obviously, I say 2025 is a long time away, but as we all know, it's probably gonna be here before we know it, so. But obviously, since we are one company now, Teresa, you know, and myself are gonna be there, so we will help you guys guide through this process. No issues with your electricity or power needs, so. I'm gonna pass this out real quick. That's what we usually show you guys. Because I know you guys like to go over your usage and how you guys are doing and performing, and I'm not gonna get into this later. Because I think we missed coming out here last year, what I wanted to do on the second page for you guys is to show you this pretty bar chart of the usage comparing 2020 to 2019 and 2018 usage. Obviously, 2020 was an interesting year, things being shut down. Most everyone always saw kind of a dip in those March, April timeframe. So you guys can review and kind of the story for yourselves of what was maybe shut down, how that impacted your usage. But what I found interesting reviewing your usage is your 2020 was, for some months, significantly lower than your 2019 usage. But it was pretty comparable to what you guys used in 2018. So I don't know the story behind that, if you guys know, or you guys can review just the data at least to see what was going on between those years. The next several pages is just in case you guys are bored one evening and want to go through each one of your sites and see how it compares for the last, I think I pulled for 2 years of your usage. This just breaks down what you guys actually used month by month for each of those sites. I'm happy to send this, Commissioner Watts, to you so you have it electronically.
Great, that'd be great.
Not just, if I can get our email, I may have to fax that to you. I know there's always an issue for that, so I will work with Nancy too to get that over to you, so we have electronic version of the usage. Any questions about usage or chart or anything I need to look at more in depth for you?
Can you tell us on the graph on the front page, Andrea, what is, if there's a difference between 2020 and we did a lot of energy efficient solutions, and we, for the most part, were pretty well done in 2020. And how does that, the total usage in
KWH?
KWH compare? How, is there a total somewhere that I'm missing, or is that hard to determine just off the graph?
I can send it over to you. Unfortunately, it's on the graph, so it may be a little bit more difficult to read. I can send you your exact, or on the data on the next couple pages, sums up to like all of December 2020 for all 35-year meters. I think you have 35. For that month, it's 442,000-ish kilowatt hours.
Okay.
So I think, and if we go back, just real quick, let's just look at December. So December 2019, for instance, you used about 386,000 kilowatt hours. So a little bit, it's about 60,000 kilowatt hours higher last year than in 2019. For whatever reason, I'm not sure, we can look at.
But that could even be weather related, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Are these laid out January through December?
That's correct, yes.
So we've got June, July, August in the middle of which would obviously be
Those are always our fun hot months, right?
the peak times.
And then the lines, so the bars, those are your spend. Obviously, I think for your 20, should have written it down, when your new contract, because this latest contract that you're on until 2025 was cheaper than the previous one. I want to say it started in 2019. So your spend in 2018 should be a little bit higher, but 2019 spend was a little bit lower just because you have a lower contract rate.
I'm curious when you get out there toward the fall months and you see the spending and usage on 2020 going above the 19.
Yeah,
and
or
that-
18, Barry.
Yeah, that puzzles me a little bit because the summertime usage would ring true to our refurbishing our HVAC equipment, and that looks right. When we get out into fall and it goes the other way, and I'm curious about that, and I wouldn't know what would have caused
Well,
that.
your usage was down in 2019 in the fall versus your usage is up in 2020. So that's gonna play a little bit more for you to pay more for what you used.
Could have been a weather.
Could have been weather. I'll honestly tell you too, Encore charges always seem to go up every year as well, even though electricity rates seem to go down. So we'll just have to, we can always look at the Encore charges. And as just a reminder, those are regulated by the state, so the only thing you can really do is control your usage, the amount. Those are passed by the state to charge any additional fees that they may have.
Of course, when you look at those fall months and on both charts, I'm a little surprised at the December, November, October numbers. The rest of them, you can pretty well
In line.
see what I expected to see, but that in both instances, it goes the other way in the fall.
Yeah, I'd like to
Something
see
you're
a
gonna-
building breakdown, the courthouse, the annex, and jail annex, and see.
Yeah,
We did really nothing at the jail annex, so
that's
that
true.
could be driving,
Could be,
I don't know,
could be.
it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, let me follow up on that and just see if we can do a little bit more of analysis on those fall months, especially
Yeah.
for 2020 to 2019, because I think 2019 was.
Yeah, in both cases, through the summer months and all, it looks to be what I would have expected. But when it gets out to those last three,
Yeah.
the fall into December,
And-
I'm curious about that.
And
And Mark,
the-
you may very well be right.
It would be interesting to see the 2018, 2019, and 2020 total KWH and total dollar spent as an annual amount.
We need to allow in there, you also have the new building coming in, the construction, electrical, energy costs, and that's carried on, and it's grown because of the.
Well, Barry, that's why,
Yeah.
that's some of the answer right there.
Because
what
we
you're
began to
talking
turn
about.
on HVAC and,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
a whole
back-
nother facility.
that's right.
Something else that you gotta look at, you're comparing usage to spent. Demand charges are gonna play a big factor in this, depending on when demand charges hit. When they take your 3 months for demand charges, is gonna affect on what your fees are, because your electricity costs are probably less than your demand charges.
That's how it's playing out these days, unfortunately, is.
Right,
Encore
so-
charges used to be around 2 cents, now it's creeping up to 3.5, sometimes even 4 cents. Your contract price is in the 3-cent range, so.
Right.
So it all depends on when they enact those demand charges, how that's gonna be, so, and you don't have anything with that, so.
Well, it's bundled in, so I think that's your full.
It's bundled in the spend, but you couldn't tell the
You don't have
difference.
the breakout of it.
Right.
Correct. Yeah. We can get you more of those details, so you guys can, we can try to narrow down if it's the new building that you guys are mentioning, if it's that, so.
Yeah, we started turning those air conditioners on throughout the building back in June. So that's a big energy
Yeah.
drain right there.
Yeah, very interesting.
I'll definitely follow up on that,
But in our energy improvements, we know what we want to do is isolate out those buildings where major projects took place. Hopefully that consumption down, but we didn't get all the balancing and stuff done until.
It was well into the year.
We were into 2020 before.
Yeah, we're well in,
Yeah.
yeah. Through
So
the
really, what we
spring.
want to compare to is, once this year is over,
Sure,
really
yeah.
compare,
Yeah.
the next February will be the important year. to look
Right.
at.
Yeah. Yeah,
that'll
and
be-
just look at this facility, the annex, are the two major ones that we did improvements on.
I want to say a thank you to you. You weren't available, but they rather than somebody else, you all got power on and took care of us on that change in voter location. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
So we're here.
And I think I saw a reminder bill and I see that on the order. Yesterday, but all your reminders, you can't say that.
Right.
Lori's back here shaking her head.
But
told you
it
it
was
was gonna be
needed,
one of those
Andrea
days.
quickly, and the judge got on the phone, and they quickly helped him with that. We were scrambling for a place, and
No, we're happy to help. I've loved working with you guys for several years, so I help them we can.
I learned Gordon Drake was out there with me, and we had the city inspectors. It could not have been better cooperation all the way around. And you all worked off the pictures we took on the phones and.
We love getting those pictures, so. Trying to find the meter numbers and everything too.
Right, that works out so handy. So,
Right.
But thanks
Technology
again.
these days is
Yeah.
nice, so. Well, no, I appreciate that. And the only other topic I would just, you guys have done a great job throughout the years of taking advantage of locking in pricing when the market has been fairly low. So just a quick market update. I believe you guys are locked in until 2032, which seems forever away. And because I know that's when my kids are gonna be graduating high school and stuff. I don't want that to be here too fast. But the good news is that you guys did a great job of locking in 3-cent power. The change, just to be aware of, is obviously this is still, in fact, I know we've been talking about this a lot, it's a growing state, right? Especially nowadays, you hear everyone's kind of rolling in from California, coming to Texas. What does that do for our state of Texas? Is we still need more generation. Obviously, renewables is a big push. We're getting a lot more wind and solar, which is a great initiative, but at the same time, it's not always predictable. And unfortunately, due to the economics, a lot of coal plants are being shut down. As you guys are aware, the one here for AEP out right next to here in Vernon has shut down recently. So with that, long story, since natural gas is still very, very cheap, there's not really any initiative or reason for these generation companies to expand and build new natural gas plants. So it's just something we need to be mindful of. So you guys have done a great job of locking in when you can and locking in long-term, because the long-term there is still a lot of uncertainty of just the generation here in Texas. Obviously, hopefully we're not going to be short and we're going to be rolling out with power outages or anything like that. But just be mindful that there's obviously a big push for renewables, and Texas is kind of a cheap place and it makes sense to put a bunch of these solar and wind. But we actually do still need some more reliable generation to come online. So that's something we're kind of keeping a close eye on. And with that, obviously it's just the simple economics of demand and supply that we expect we will see pricing eventually go up, or especially during those summer months. They'll be more costly than the summer off months. So anyway, just want to give you guys kudos for locking in and staying on top of it. I don't think you're going to be regretting that 3-cent power anytime soon. And we'll obviously do our best to keep you guys updated if there's any other buying opportunity, but can't go out really past 2032 right now, so you guys can sit back and relax for a while, and we'll help you guys manage the usage piece, so.
Well, I understand that Oakland Union plant is supposed to become gas-fired, is that right?
I believe so. I know it's off right now. We actually used to serve that site, so I know that I think they're doing some renovations. It's gonna take some time. So in the meantime, there's nothing being generated, from my understanding, at that facility, but I think you're correct. They're trying to convert that one.
And we're looking at a 400 to 500 megawatt solar farm, just west of Westbrook.
Okay.
And part of the abatement agreement is they're gonna run an extension cord down here at us. And we're
Right to your buildings, right? So, well, that's the big, that is the big talk too, is Encore needs to do a lot more. They're trying to keep up with
Right.
where all these solar and wind farms are going up. Is we gotta ship it to North Texas or down south to Houston, South Zone. So, I think it's all good problems to have. We're obviously growing and, you know, Texas has always been a good, healthy market. And ERCOT runs it very well, where it's allowed to be a free market where we're not tacking on extra charges like at the Northeast with capacity charges. So we'll get there, but just something to be mindful of, which is great because you guys don't have to worry about you're locked in. But for future, just be aware, this is something we are keeping a close eye on, especially during the summer months. If we are short on power, which has always been a little bit of concern, you may see some rolling blackouts. Who knows if we can't get all that generation up on. So that's all I really have. Do you have anything?
No, I look forward to working with you guys and coming out here and seeing you guys and keeping you updated.
And Teresa, you met Willie Wall here. He's does tremendous amount with us on all of these and worked with Andrea across the years as well, so.
Yes, really appreciate you guys.
Teresa, would you be sure to leave us your contact information, if you don't mind,
Absolutely.
include cell phone, just in case we have another voting emergency.
You got it, you got it.
All right. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I appreciate everything you provided us great service over the years. We're an issue, but you still come see us.
Well, I may still tag along.
All right. Very good.
I still like coming out here. So.
Good deal. Thank you very much. Okay, if we can move down to item number 3, we've not had anyone here. Sheriff's Department, Richard Beecham.
I'm a little familiar with it. These are
Thank you so much.
the devices that we need to get the Wi-Fi within the pods. We had an opportunity to go ahead and have them installed while they have the lifts in the area. We really should have ordered these before. But this is all stuff that was budgeted for within the project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So-
it's nothing new.
And this is going to support the systems that the jailers control? or
Yes, systems that the jailers control.
Item number 3 is discuss, consider, take action to approve street wave quote SQ 920313 in the amount of $2,771.88 for Wi-Fi access points at the LEC jail pods to be paid from the LEC bond funds. Or you all are certainly welcome to stay, but if you've got, you know.
We'll be here about 5 minutes of that. We don't leave.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to let you know, you know.
Well, I'm always interested in seeing what you guys are talking.
All right. So, Commissioner Beecham, you,
Yeah,
this is part of the,
Yeah, it's a budgeted item, so it really should have been in consent agenda, so I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
any other comments or questions on this item? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Finnegan to approve the item as requested. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 4 is discuss consider action. I'm gonna move that item. We're not gonna do that one right now. Let's go down to item 6 since we have guests here. For this particular item, which is discuss, consider, take action to approve the professional service agreement for administration of the property assessed clean energy base program and authorize commissioner court to sign the agreement. I hope over the time we've had, you all have a chance to go back over and review the documents. And the only thing that I can approve in that program is doing this professional services agreement. And I'm gonna make some statements with you all with the clarification that we, in dealing with Lone Star case, or this morning, there have been some questions raised by the other provider and possible infringement on some of their work. So we're gonna, in this, there's a, so you mark what paragraph that is, I think.
I think it is, on page 7, in scope of services, number 4.
Yes, ma'am.
Number 4, number 6, under, community outreach, and number 6, under application of approval, 20 line items.
be copyrighted so that we don't have that problem. And I'll later to do that. I wanted you to consider some other things, and you all jump in on what I'm gonna say here. I had 3 items that I thought we needed to clarify. It says you will make an annual report on the project. I always like to have that and tell me what these dates will work. The report would be as of December 31st and due by January 31st.
That's fine. We typically do it on a calendar year basis.
Okay. And then, next thing is a statement in there about, there is a fee the county can receive. If we have that noted in there, the county will receive all applicable fees. And then we want a review process for a project that before you all sign off on it finally, if you're administering that one for us. And then the other thing is, this is not an exclusive agreement with Lone Star Pace.
Perfect. The other question I have on the review, is that going to be with full commissioners court, or is it going to be delegated to a staff member to do the review?
Yeah, we'll decide that.
Okay.
It's gonna depend on how much, I'm not sure the volume of that. The other thing is, you all have any kind of, it says a report. Well, a report could be, everything's working like we thought it should. I'm gonna bet you all have something a little more detailed.
We do, and I can send out to you, and you can distribute the commissioners a sample of our 2019-2020 report, which just went out a couple weeks ago. Yes, it basically has a high-level overview of our activity statewide, what we did, and then we'll actually add to that what we did specifically. There were projects that were closed here in Wichita County. We'll give you more detail.
And that's what we're really looking for.
Absolutely.
So if there's any local projects going on, there'll be a report based just on that one project?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
In the report, we will give you a specific overview of those specific projects. And then actually, you'll probably see them beforehand, since the court will want to review that one way or another.
Okay.
Ms. Jennings, anything additional?
No, their report, I think their annual report that you all sent out,
I think I may have sent it out. I can't
I think so, I think you all got that on
We
you.
got it, yeah.
It was
Yeah,
very
early on.
informative, I thought, so that's kind of what I'm expecting we're gonna be receiving
Okay.
in regard to our information, so.
Judge Molly LaRue is here from Purdue.
Oh, there she is.
And Molly, you had sent us an attachment that you'd received, I think from, what's the Texas Pace, maybe? the attachment.
Charlene?
Yeah, did you read that, Mickey?
Yes, I'd read it when it
I
came through
read
the
it,
first time.
and did it pose any questions to you, or was there any concerns that you had at this point, Molly, or did you have any thoughts or statements?
I'll lead with my review of PACE is very limited. It was kind of thrown on my desk last week. Excuse me. The letter, are you referring to the one from the lenders?
It
That
was,
sent out?
it was the.
It was from the lenders, but it also had attached all those news articles.
Okay, yeah. I
That
didn't-
same articles were all attached,
Okay.
which I went through and read most all those, so I don't know if you've read them or not yet or
I
not.
haven't.
Yeah.
I
There's a
read
bunch
the
of 'em.
letter. I didn't get the version with the news articles attached, but my main concern, as you guys know, Purdue Brandon, we do the collection of delinquent ad valorem taxes for every entity in and around Wichita County, every governmental entity. And so when PACE came across my desk, my concern was I want to make sure that Purdue Brandon's role, if there is one, whether it's down the line or not, I just want to make sure that there's some clarity as to how, if there's a default by a business owner under the PACE program, how is it going to get collected? And I was able to read the contract that you guys are looking at today. And on page 9, the second paragraph under management and reporting, it doesn't really, it's a little bit vague. I read it and I still don't know what's going to happen if somebody were to default. So it says, upon notification, yada, 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 of a default, the qualified capital provider contract, ... shall notify the local government, Wichita County, to enforce the assessment lien in accordance with the law and agreement between the parties. And so I just don't know what that agreement is. And because PACE is being assessed like a tax, it's collected like a tax, and you can enforce it like a tax because the lien becomes equal to an ad valorem tax lien. It's got that same priority, which is pretty significant. I just wanna know what our role is, if we ever have to get involved, I'm just trying to think down the line, just so things don't get messy.
No, absolutely. I'd love to meet with you after this session. Just in general, the approval that was given last week by Commissioners Court was for the actual program report, which is the detailed how the program operates. And in there, there's a owner and lender contract, and the property owner contract specifically spells out the process that
So what is the process?
basically, when a property owner defaults, there are 2 30-day notices given to that property owner that they're in default, and after that, the collection will start on the same timing as the ad valorem taxes. So our documents basically say the same time, in the same manner. So basically, our goal is to make it as easy for you as possible.
So who's sending the notice letters out, who's actually doing the collection part?
So the lender sends the notice letters out, we get
Okay.
copied on them, so those
Okay.
go out to the property owners. Really, you would get involved after that 60-day default, we would basically notify you, let you know ahead of time that this is a potential. Then you would basically go through your normal collection process as if it was an ad valorem tax.
Okay, so this is something that might trickle down to Purdue Brandon in the future if there were a default.
But you get your normal fee.
Right.
Okay,
Normally,
Okay.
yeah.
all right, just wanna make sure.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
it's no longer, Molly, when this started out in 2013, is that correct?
2013, yes, sir.
2013, it was a deal through the tax assessors collectors who absolutely went no way. And so the revision of it has now brought about where all the payments are between the lender and the borrower.
Right, the property owner.
And we're not involved in that anymore, up until there's a default and then.
And just so you know, this process was actually, the documents were, Michelle French, President of TACA, was very involved in this drafting, as well as Gil Bragg over at McCreary. So they were put together by people who understand the process much better than I do.
Okay.
And Molly, this is Lee McCormick, who is the CEO of Lone Star.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Molly, thank you for looking into this. And
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's good to see you back in here again.
Yeah, the good thing is we're not in trouble. Okay. Anything else, Commissioner? Then I would like to have you adopt the motion as stated with the following, with the additional consideration, one, that we clarify that language that may have conflict to it, so it's not to infringe upon anyone's copyright. Second, we add in there that Wichita County may subsequently enter into agreements with one or more other local governments, nonprofit organization entities that promote energy and water conservation or economic development to provide marketing and education services for the PACE program, that the reports that are done annually are as of December 31st and rendered to the county by January 31st, that the county will receive all applicable fees as part of the process, and the county will review all projects prior to being signed.
Make a motion that we go with that program.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries 5-0. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Mr.
If you all want to go ahead and meet,
Yeah.
get to know Molly a little better.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
I'll try to.
Now for the ever-changing one.
Okay, item 4, discuss and take action on Wichita County COVID-19 guideline updates and related paid, non-paid issues. Nancy has passed out to you the work that the Russians and Ukrainians did last week after our work session, where there was some discussion of COVID.
And Tracy, Tanya, this really helps. It really, to me, y'all took a,
Here's my amendments to the COVID-19 policy to go along with that.
Say that again, Mark.
The policy that we enacted back in October, these are my amendments to clear it up to today's standards and
I'd like to ask a question here right quick. Is this gonna be as of January the 1st, 2021, or as of January 25th? Because I thought we discussed the other day.
I've got one.
You got one there?
Yeah.
We have concern, I talked with Tracy this morning about that.
Okay.
And I concurred with her, making something retroactive
Okay.
is generally not something we do.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky.
Yeah, so January 25th, Commissioner Beecham is right, and we asserted that last week, and, so.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
January 25th date as being, more appropriate. It still doesn't change the total benefit of the hours. But it will, if somebody had time off between the 1st and the 25th, then that will not be part of that 80 hours, is the way I feel like it is now. Which I don't think we had too many people. Tanya, I don't know if you-
My precinct is off, but
Yeah.
We've had a couple, but, I'm in agreement with you that it starts as of January 25th, and that's when, on the 26th,
and that's a lot cleaner than just saying we'll go back and we won't go back on this. A good line in the sand is much better.
How do our employees get this,
What
policy?
I would like to do, and run it by Tracy and Mark, and all of you probably, is just do a step-by-step, because this even cleaned up will cause questions, and I would like to do a step-by-step. If you come in contact, if you get a positive test, these are things you need to do. And we took some of the onus off of the department supervisor, because it says the supervisor will contact HR and let them know that it's not one of it. But we had a case last week that we received from a department. The person was off a month starting in December, and we never got it till they came back to work.
Oh, wow.
So we want to make sure that that employee knows if you're going to be absent from work, you're calling your immediate supervisor anyhow. You call them, and if it's COVID related, you call us. And then that way we make sure that we know they've contacted their supervisor, they've contacted us, we can lead them through, we can get the documentation in. But I can do a step-by-step, do this, do this, do this. And I think that will help, and then we get it out to all the employees or our county, because I think even when we send policy, they just want to know what paragraph applies to me.
Right.
So,
And Tanya, help me understand what happens. So I'm a relatively new employee, wouldn't have much accrued vacation or sick leave, and I hit a snag, either between myself being sick and having a child maybe to stay home and keep, it consumes my 80 hours. I quickly burn up my accrued leave. At that point, if I did have or face some time to be at home, how are my things that are charged off of my check, since I'm not receiving one, how are they handled?
are you talking about benefits?
Yes.
That's something that I think I need to talk to Cheryl about, because I don't think we've addressed
We
that.
can't advance it. It has to be paid or it's suspended.
Oh, we do?
I'm pretty sure that's the way, because there's no kitty sitting there to loan it out, you can't make loans.
So when you say advance it, is it paid, or does the employee go back and pay up after they come back to work? If they're on leave without pay,
If they're on leave without pay, we're not gonna pay those premiums, we're not gonna be.
If you completely run out of time, you're out of time. You'd be no different than any other company. You'd lose your job.
You would be on FMLA, your
Yeah,
job would
yeah.
be protected for 16 weeks,
Right.
and your health insurance would be carried for that time.
But if you had additional life insurance, additional,
Dentist insurance.
yeah, that's what we're talking about, yeah.
You know, one of the things this is probably taught everybody, disability insurance is not a bad thing to have. If you're out for this, and triggers in a time that would pay you like day one. So,
So when you said advance it, I'm still not clear.
well, okay, the person is out of paid time.
Right,
If we paid that for them, we would be advancing them money.
right,
We can't do that.
not do that.
But who, Judge, per pay period invoices the employee for the amount due? Who's, I mean, because I doubt any of us in this room could say, oh, if I missed a pay period and didn't get paid, I owe the county X. It would take us, well, a little bit of time to determine.
I'm gonna guess here that benefits notifies somebody, says you're out of accrued any payable time, and you therefore need to contact those people you have your,
I
money
mean,
going out.
you think that's what they do, or send payroll a check?
I think it's been done both ways, but I can't really, I'm not sure of that.
I can visit with Cheryl about that.
Yeah.
I just wondered because it could occur, especially with newer employees that wouldn't have a big,
Big
or
bag.
a decent amount of
See if
accrued.
Corey or Cheryl's available, please.
Yeah, and I guess some of that stuff that's held out of those checks is like court ordered, maybe child support or,
Well, even
Could
that,
be.
we're not gonna.
You're not gonna pay it,
Advance
yeah.
the money.
yeah, that, we get that list on every payroll report of what's
Yeah.
been.
$9 a payday student loan.
Yeah, student loan. I think they got that paid off,
But,
Judge. I
but
think that went away.
FMLA then is only guaranteed those non-payable items that are benefits to the employee.
All FMLA does is hold your spot, hold your job.
And
It
hold your
does- it
insurance.
has-
And pay your health insurance for that period of time, that's it.
But only the health insurance that the county underwrites.
Yeah.
Only the employees.
Yeah,
Okay, and is the 80 hours accruing sick and vacation?
Okay, I have 80 COVID hours. Remember, there's only 3 reasons you can use that 80 hours.
I think what Commissioner Watts is asking
Okay.
is, does your vacation and sick leave continue to accrue while you're off? When you've exhausted it?
Because that's a whole different, other form of accounting.
No, I think once
It
you've
doesn't
exhausted
accrue.
it, it does not
That's your
accrue.
non-paid status. Yeah.
You're in a non-paid status if you're not accrued. Which means I have employees that's happened, to, they do not accrue. Until they come back.
I just wonder, do we need to add that in there? Otherwise, because so many track their own.
Well, it's in the standard policy already.
Okay, well, but that's just it. And we go back to, we really don't have a policy manual that the employees can look at.
Right.
They're working on it, and it's been
That
being worked
clarifies
on.
that.
I've been here 32 years, and it's been being worked on for 32 years.
It's gonna be good.
We're gonna
though.
remedy that.
We all may be gone, and what would happen when it's finished?
It's gonna be in color, Laura.
To what?
It's gonna be in
You're
color.
also calling in?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, thank you. Did Nancy tell you the question?
She said it had to do with COVID.
Oh, okay.
Good job,
You
Nancy.
voted against it. Okay, the question was, when a person is off, and this could be COVID or anything, they run out of paid time. But they have selected benefits to be paid out of the cafeteria plan for, let's say, dental insurance, cancer insurance. What is the mechanism when they run out of paid time that would allow for that to be paid? What happens then? Are they notified, or what goes on in the process?
Yes, they are notified, and then what we would do is it would be like COBRA, where basically we would bill them for their benefits.
Okay, do we pay it before we get their pay to us?
Typically, we collect from the employee before the bill is paid.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's typically how that works, so even now, like, with your cancer insurance, we withdraw from the employee's paycheck, then we submit the bill to, the vendor.
Okay.
And Cheryl, I've got a question for you. So if I'm on Time Clock Plus in the jail, I'm a jail employee, I'm out for COVID for 80 hours. Is there the ability of my time clock supervisor to code that those are non-accrual hours?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Wait, you just, okay, if I'm out and I'm in a pay status,
You're still accruing.
I still accrue vacation and sick leave for that during that time.
Well, that's not what Lori said.
No, if you're on an unpaid status.
Unpaid
Unpaid.
status.
Oh, unpaid. Oh, no, I'm talking about if you're drawing off the 80 hours,
Right, yes.
you're still
You're still
accruing.
in.
Okay, that was my question.
Unpaid is different than paid. That's the dividing line.
Okay.
Sounds like that pretty well covers it, Judge.
Okay, Commissioner, are you wanting this to become part of
Yeah,
this?
or to amend this original policy that we set back in October to this, to my changes
Then we need to incorporate it
into this.
If it's gonna be separate, then I don't think we can act on it today, but if it's gonna be incorporated in that.
Well, I think they go hand in hand, so we can't.
Okay, no, I agree with that, I just wonder if that's what you want to
Yeah.
do.
It says the COVID-19 guidelines, updates and related pay and non-paid issues.
So,
Okay, so we're
This
So
is-
I'm thinking if you all want to make changes to the COVID policy that was changed in October, that's one motion, second action, if there is any. And then on any changes to the COVID pay, I think that is a separate voted on issue, but I think that they are both addressed in this same agenda
Okay,
item,
so it'd be an A and a B or, yeah,
whatever.
okay. All right, but what I'm wondering would be better, instead of having people have to look at two things,
To
would be better to
incorporate
have
them.
one thing? So,
No, two things is better than one thing.
okay.
Yes. I'm just telling you.
If you make it a separate thing, we need to put it on the agenda again, really.
I don't think
Yeah.
so. I think we're doing COVID updates, COVID pay guidelines. But if you all are not comfortable acting on it, then don't act on it.
I'm good.
Mark is just trying to clean it up because there are conflicts.
Mark, you've got the, red lines, or you've redlined this document to some extent, or crossed out what needs to be
The
removed.
crossouts are what needs to be deleted, and then the red is stuff that I have added or changed. Except on number 3 where it says is available at should not be should not be marked 3. I messed up there. That should be just the addition of is available at the HTTP website.
Okay, on item 3, which, were-
Oh,
Social
item
distancing
3, under social distancing and face
Oh,
masks.
okay.
Yeah, that's just,
and how-
it should, the strike-through should be, will be provided to departments, and it should say, and instructions on how to safely put on and remove face mask is available at HTTP website. Yeah, is available at should not be stricken through, that's in addition.
Okay.
And I can make a clean copy of the changes. But most of the strike-throughs are dealing with, we called out Wichita County Health District as, specifically, we have employees from multiple of our surrounding counties that do things completely different, so we change it to health authority or our physician.
I have a quick question, Tracy. On the original one here, on item 3, on instructions, on the 3 reasons, why do we change that from just human resources to department head?
Which one are you looking at? Sorry.
On the original, on the COVID deal that you wrote, the original one here on the back where it says, number 3, we changed, marked out human resources department, put in department head will approve or deny this application.
Because that's who folks work for, is their department head.
Okay.
So, I mean, they are gonna be working in concert with human resources, but I think the department head is gonna be the one that makes that decision.
And the department head will push them to human resources for testing and for those, and
I'm expecting everybody's gonna be working together.
It is,
Oh,
and my
Okay.
thoughts on that, just in my thoughts, department head in conjunction with human resources, because if department head's the only one doing it, then he could really do anything that he wanted to do and circumvent any of this policy that he wants to do.
You sure can.
Okay. All right, that's kind of what I agree, that's what I took it as. So you don't really have a policy, yeah, that's what I think. It's a lot of work to go to, because really and truly at the end of the day, with that one sentence right there, you really did away with it. So, okay.
what, I didn't catch that. Again?
On the original, this paper here, on number 3 on the back,
They're in the back.
it was changed from department head, it was changed from human resources department to the department head.
Okay,
That being said,
department head can do whatever he wants. I would prefer it to be in human resources office.
I understand, and you all can say that, and one of the very first things that happened when I arrived here was talking about, the role of the commissioner's court in regard to department heads.
yep, and you can't control department
You
heads.
all are not
Right.
their boss.
Okay,
So,
we can control the department heads that we appoint,
right,
but we can't control the elected
elected.
officials.
Correct.
Which I'm calling somebody
Yes, I
supervisor,
understand.
is basically. So if we want to parse that out, but I'm telling you, in terms of the elected officials, they are making determinations in their office, just like you're making determinations for your employees
Correct.
that work for you for precinct. So, in some ways, you're right, but I think we have to assume that everybody moves forward in doing what's best for the county and staying within these parameters. And that's what we're trying to do, is set the policy.
Right.
Just like with every policy that we have, we adopt with the commissioners court.
Commissioners court controls pay policy and the checkbook. Why would we not control the policy in this application?
I think we're looking to determine whether or not employees can be gone and what they're going to be gone for. Let me equate it to when some offices close for hot or bad.
Mhm.
I mean, they are the ones who make that decision about
Right.
their employees being present at the courthouse and for those reasons. You all can adopt this any way you want to adopt it, but I did make that change from what Tanya asked for back to the original document that said the department head makes the decision. But you all can adopt it any way you want to. This is your document, but that's what I'm recommending.
You know, after all, we're down here in the south, we look after our people. And my God, you think a department head would take advantage of their employee? I take that real personal.
I don't think they
Well,
would
so
take,
you're taking
no.
advantage of the employees.
You're
You're missing
Lake
your-
State, I mean,
It's taking advantage of the county.
Yeah, it wasn't taking
Sometimes
advantage
we're a
of
little
it.
too- When we
well, I
close it,
resent that too, Judge.
okay, well, I'm gonna tell you why.
I work for the county too, and I take it very seriously about
Okay.
spending taxpayer dollars.
Right, but closing your office at noon before a 3-day weekend kind of bothers you. Not
did
your
that-
office, but there are plenty of people that holidays begin a half a day or more earlier than what's posted.
Well,
So there again, you're punishing all elected officials for what a few elected officials do.
And we're not gonna punish because we can't do it. There's too much AG opinions that support the elected official run their office however they want to.
no, I would give it a shot.
this gets back,
If it runs aground, then I would be quiet, but otherwise, I think
Yeah,
you're-
but I'm
Once again, this is so typical of this commissioner's court.
But I do think that Bob's right. I think that the department head needs to make the determination and bring to Tanya for help as to what best to do, because otherwise you're cut out of the loop and you wouldn't even know what's going on really.
that's why I said in conjunction with, because either way, you're gonna be, you're gonna be kicking the wall with your toe. I hate to say this, but there's several department heads in here, and I'm not saying that you make the ability there to be more lax to your employee, not saying that you would or wouldn't, but you give that ability to, and it should be a human resources deal if we're dealing with the pay. I'm just, once again, brought that to y'all's attention because it seems like to me that one sentence changes the wording of this whole document.
But most elected officials are going to, if they have an employee, go to human resources.
And you are correct.
They're
But
going
you
to
as,
report it to
but
them.
you as a department
Not,
head,
not all though, not all.
but you as a department head have told me that there is a lot of animosity in this courthouse between different department heads that allow their employees to do one thing, but yet we don't do it, so it causes trouble. That's all I'm seeing that this is gonna do. It's gonna cause a little bit more trouble.
Commissioner, you're gonna have that no matter what you do. You're going to have that.
Right.
Yes, my office does not close. I close 2 hours twice a year so my employees can get it. And do you know what? I do ask, do I not, Judge, permission to close from the 3 judges I serve before I close.
And this is,
I don't have to because I'm an elected official. If I want to close my office every day at 4 o'clock, I can close my office every day at 4
Right.
o'clock. But I don't, because I do serve the citizens of Wichita County.
right,
I have been elected to do that. And I don't appreciate someone telling me, okay, you as an elected official can't run your own office, I'm gonna tell you what to do. No, that's not gonna happen. I was elected to run my office and I will run my office. I will report to Tanya and them if someone in my office has symptoms or is out. But if they're just out sick, I'm not gonna report it to them. That's not their call, that's my call.
No, and I think we're talking about COVID policy.
It's COVID only.
yeah, we're only talking about COVID.
And I think what we're trying to prevent is what just happened and what has happened, because the jail supervisor, sorry if you were the jail, the jail supervisor that signed off on this employee being gone was a lieutenant, it was somebody, it was a detention officer supervisor. It wasn't David Duke, it wasn't the head of the sheriff's department. And this person, in essence now, has said, yeah, I gave them a month. Well, they should not have done that.
A
They
month
should have-
past their quarantine time.
And on the date they got their return, they were to return to work January 21st, return the 26th, but we don't know, did you not get your letter? Did you pass your 2 days that you were supposed to have to get this letter? Why did you, and we received the packet on the 27th. So it was a week almost past the time they were supposed to come back. But the jail person, and I don't know the name on the packet, they approved it. Well, they just approved a month of time, we don't know anything about it. So I think working in conjunction with us, the minute that person is out for COVID, then we're notified, we have a checklist, we need this, and we're talking to the employee also, so that they're clear on the policy and not that, it's whatever is approved by.
Having it go through the HR office, you have the policy, you know how it's applied, you've applied it the same way in every case.
And if there's questions about time off and somebody goes over, then we can always bring it here and say, this is what's happened. and then I think it's up to.
See, I look at it kind of the other way. I would think that a department head would want to go to this, would want that backup, want the rules
That's what I would think.
to hang their hat on, like, oh, well, the policy, this is what the policy says, here's what we're gonna do.
Well,
I don't see it as going the other way.
yeah, I
Trying
don't think
to
we're
avoid
trying
it.
to hamstring elected officials and
No,
say
I'm
you
not
can't
at
let
all.
your-
I'm
let
not,
your
that's
folks
not
off
my
for a
deal at
reason.
all.
But-
I just wanted it to be more uniform throughout the county. In the big scheme of things, I don't have anything to do with it.
Well,
I mean, it's gonna be strictly the elected officials are gonna do what they wanna do.
But you don't think that as an elected official, we're not going to go to the HR department to get the guidelines and to
You-
make sure?
You have
Well,
some
they
that
did
don't.
department head, and it was.
But I don't think they're going to.
Yeah.
He was a supervisor.
Now, department heads, I don't know,
Yeah.
because I am not a department head, I am an elected official. And even when I was out with COVID and something came up, my chief deputy was as well.
And Lori, we know full well as an elected official, you can become a non-elected official too.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a check and balance right there.
I mean,
If you're not doing what you're supposed to do, people are gonna notice.
But you do have department heads and you have
Yeah.
elected officials over department
Well-
heads that's not making
Yeah.
that person under them follow these guidelines.
Or
Sorry.
we could remedy it real easy and put the department head along with the human resources department will work to approve or deny this application.
I think you'd want that.
I
I think
think-
you'd want the HR guys say, okay, here's the
Yeah, 'cause they're
rules,
dealing with
here's.
it every day. They deal with it, they do it every
Yeah.
day, they know the policy, they can apply it equally, or advise the elected official, or
So who trying to sue?
the elected officials still do what they wanna do, but
Yep.
they can at least
That's what I'm saying.
advise
Well, I
that,
mean,
hey,
it
this is the
says that
policy.
They're gonna
and-
report it immediately to human resources, so then what we're gonna run into is, it's just not gonna be reported.
If it's not reported, then they're not eligible for this 80 hours then.
But they're still getting their regular pay.
Exactly.
Well, they'll get it on sick leave or vacation.
Not if they're not documenting it.
I mean, this is a separate pot that we've approved, the 80 hours. I think that's what we're talking about here, is if you want to receive the 80 hours COVID pay, these are the steps that you have to take in order to receive that. If not, you're on vacation or sick leave.
If you're
If you,
reported that way. I mean,
Well, if
it
you-
all is up to the integrity of the head of that department.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that we're tracking it and recording it correctly, and Tanya has the information needed, because I guess it's possible to circumvent that whole process if I didn't report to Tanya and just told one of my employees to go to the clinic and get a test and then go home and stay home, and otherwise nobody'd know, would they?
Well, I would suspect that if you were a department head and you did not adhere to the guidelines and you infected a whole department because you didn't go by the guidelines, I would think that there would be certainly some,
the whole thing with this emergency sick
liability
leave
there.
was adding an extra layer that we are giving them on top of the benefits that we've already
Yeah.
established. This is a new benefit. I don't see the conflict with saying you have to follow these guidelines in order to receive that benefit.
and it's the most generous there is that
It's-
from what I've found. There's nothing
It is
else
very
out there like
generous.
that. No.
It- I think we're giving our employees something that was not something we told them we were gonna do when they hired on. This is something new, we're trying to cover them, we're being very generous. I really don't see a conflict with saying, in order to receive this, you have to do these steps. If not, you're on vacation and sick leave. This is not
This is not a
not saying
right.
you
It's not a
can't be
right.
off.
It's,
It's not saying you can't be off. You can be off all you want on sick leave and vacation time. But if you want emergency sick leave,
Well, what it's gonna amount to, it's gonna be like, just put COVID aside, it's gonna be like a department head punching a time clock for somebody, basically, that's not at work.
Right.
which is probably against the law. I don't know that, but I would assume it would be.
Government records, yeah.
Yeah, and so, I mean, to me, there's your protection right there. If you're doing something outside this policy,
What is,
you're breaking the law.
Number 3 said the elected department head is encouraged to consult with the Human Resources Department before approving or denying the application.
Where are you reading that?
Item
three.
3.
And if that's happening, I promise you, everybody in the world's gonna know about it.
but without the application being approved, the benefit's not there.
True.
I got no problem with what Commissioner Kincannon said. I mean, the department head in conjunction with,
No, that's either way.
Well, there's a reason I separated that and said the elected is to take care of one group, and then in the following sentence would be, number 4, all department heads appointed by the Commissioners Court, will get concurrence from their supervising court members to approve COVID-19 sick leave.
Well, I mean, in our situation, I don't know if it's a department head, you know, I count on my foreman to take care of that, but I doggone sure know what he's doing.
Okay, I
And
just,
we visit about it every day.
I put it into something that's tangible. It's, do you want to do that, you not want to do it, or you want to change it?
How about the elected official, department head, and in conjunction with human resources, well, I don't have my glasses on, can't see, will approve or deny this application based on the qualifying criteria. What if we just put all 3 of them in there?
Well, what if we just call him the supervisor?
Supervisor,
Yeah.
in conjunction with human resources.
Well, now, okay, what level of supervisor?
Well, see, that's just what you have in the jail.
Yeah, that's problematic then.
Lieutenants to do this and where they're
But
shipped.
really, the payroll supervisor is the person in charge, isn't it?
No, you might have a lieutenant that's, for instance, just an example, you may have a lieutenant that's letting somebody off, and Captain Patterson may not even be aware of the whole circumstance of why they've been off for so long.
Mhm.
So, just as an example.
Regardless, we know.
But to me, that ought to be a minimum of Captain Patterson in the jail. That needs to be kept at a level of uniformity, not Lieutenant X and Lieutenant Y do different things.
Yeah, department head or elected official.
Or did you didn't want to go with supervisor?
No, the supervisor goes in,
Okay.
and some departments goes down there, you got,
3 or 4 tiers.
yeah.
So you're changing it to elected official, department head, in conjunction with?
Yeah.
I think that,
One thing about it, we can change it next week if we need to.
We sure can.
It
it's
doesn't
one thing we
take,
discovered, we can change these.
it doesn't take a 2/3 vote, does it? So,
We're never gonna get it exactly right.
You're right.
No matter how you word it, you're
Yeah.
not going to agree with
No,
If,
you're
if
not.
somebody,
It's kind of like the software. You're not gonna make everybody happy with whatever software you go.
if somebody's gonna cheat the system, they're gonna cheat the system. But I promise you, in this courthouse, everybody in the world will know about it pretty quickly. Everybody, Bob. It gets out. I mean, it's not 100% deal, but this moves us down the road toward managing this deal better than we've been.
No,
Okay, so that eliminates that number 4 I offered, which was the department head appointed by the Commissioners Court must clear that, or they.
I don't think it would be, it seems like if you had an elected official, slash department head in conjunction with human resources would do the same thing.
yeah.
Okay, so that eliminates that.
Yeah.
And let me throw a ball, Craig.
No. Point of order.
All of these 3 deal with an employee.
No.
And of course, I've had recent experience with a third-party employee. Is that still fall under, like, my express employee, is he not in this category?
No,
No.
he's,
No.
County board.
Well, I know he's not a county employee, but don't we want him to, we don't want the 80 hours, I'm not talking that, but we do want him to comply with the human resources in order to be coming and going, don't we? Or maybe not going, but coming certainly. So that,
He would comply with this COVID-19 guidelines portion. This sheet, not the pay sheet.
That I agree with. He would have to abide by our,
Yeah,
by our
that makes
safety.
sense.
This is nothing other than safety guidelines, so
Yeah.
this is,
well, but it still has to, I just want Tanya to be aware that the employee is sick, they're working in the county, and that even though they're not a county employee, that they still can expose our employees, so.
And I'm sure Express is gonna be the same as my staff, so the minute
Okay.
that somebody has it here, my staff had a set of, they had a protocol for
Okay.
that person. So they should contact whichever agency they're with,
Okay,
and they'll direct them.
okay.
well, I'd make a motion that we go ahead and approve it like we've
Okay.
changed this.
And second,
Motion A and motion B.
Well,
Which one are you motioning?
the B would be the, to go,
Okay, tell me
elected
A.
to go ahead and approve this A here with the change on number 3 to be elected official / department head, working in conjunction with human resources.
And you're talking about the policy on paid leave for COVID, that's your
Yes.
motion.
Yes.
You're talking about.
Yes, for the paid leave, for the paid, non-paid leave, I believe how it's written up.
Yes.
and can he go ahead in that motion and change, or accept the other one as
No,
well?
no, just leave it alone. Motion A and motion B.
Okay.
I'll second that, Judge.
Okay. And that includes all other changes and revisions made in court. You've got some other changes that are in here.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
the yellow highlighted change. And the
Strikeouts.
marked strikeouts and all the,
Strikeouts
as written here in court. You still second it, Barry?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was my intention.
And instruct HR to send out a simplified email.
Without the scratch outs?
explaining it. Yeah.
Well, what kind of email?
Well, the instruction,
To everybody.
So motion A is to accept the document emergency paid sick leave phase 2 guidelines as noted by the example and amended in court. Motion by Fincannon and Mull. Any other comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. Okay, motion B.
I'll make the motion to approve the COVID-19 guidelines as amended, along with clarifying 2 typographical errors and,
I just wanted you to say typographical errors, because I think there's one more up there.
okay, all typographical
And I'll
errors.
second Mark's motion.
And instruct HR to send out an email to all county staff simplifying both policies. And it's something easy to read, flow chart document.
Bring that back to us next week if you have that done by then.
So that's passed and seconded. I have one other quick question then, and this is a question for HR. Just for simplicity's sake, if one of our guys calls any department, would it be easier for us to direct that person straight to you, HR? What are our guidelines as of right now? Because I would rather do that, because this COVID deal has been changing every month since I've been around. But when they call you and say they were exposed and they want to know what they should do, every situation's a little bit different.
Thank you.
Instead of me having to call, talk to Mark, and talk to the judge, and then call you, would it be not easier just to have them call directly to HR and say,
They
Call.
can, and if they haven't done the worksheet, if they haven't met one of these 3 criteria, then we're gonna ask, because if they're out at the precinct
Right.
in Burke, and we're gonna ask them to complete it and send it back to us
I just,
with their.
I've got a new circumstance this morning that we haven't addressed before, and we had to call health department, we're waiting on a call back, so it.
well, that's
just-
the biggest thing is just having a standard policy, I think, for our employees that they know who they can call and they don't have to get a different answer from different people. I think that was our ultimate goal in doing this to start with, is just to have
Yeah.
a standard set of rules.
Commissioner Beecham helped out when we had one person in HR,
Right.
then he filled in and did say the rest of those things.
Well, I've called him several times to bug him about different ones, so I know.
Okay, and I got that down, motion B is, Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Finnegan.
Yes.
No, it was Watts seconded the second.
Okay. Any other comment on that? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, Commissioner Beecham, update on the law enforcement center.
It's all working, that's my report. No. Well, I had to do that since you said that earlier, so. Landscaping's going in, we're continuing with each cell, we did a walkthrough, punch list on 3 different pods to the cellular level. The punch list wasn't near as bad as what we had experienced in Building A. There were some paint issues, some rough edges, a few things that needed to be taken care of, door hinges that weren't exactly swinging the way they should. Those will all be addressed. Tomorrow, Jail Commission will be in to do a pre-walk to look at the facility, to make sure, give us any advice before opening, so, or before we bring them down here for the final inspection. So I'm anxious to see what they have to say. I wish I was gonna be around to walk with them. But everything is, it's a fury of activity if you walk through. The pods are moving north, where most of them are outfitted with furnishings and everything, and they're ready to roll as soon as the technology gets installed, so. Many of the computers are in place, the door controls, so it's looking good.
That is good to hear.
Yeah. The newspaper did a really nice job, and so did the news stations, reporting this time.
Okay. We're down to anyone else? Anything to add this morning? Yes, sir.
Just to keep all you guys in the loop, we're gonna send out a check to Yates, and just about the time I get down the stairs, for $1.6 million. That'll hit us in our jail bond fund. And I want to commend Commissioner Mueller for the least amount of money spent in Commissioner's Court checks this week, so.
Thank you, Bob.
And I'll make that a regular report too.
He was the low man this week?
Yeah.
Low man.
I'm so,
Followed very closely now by Commissioner Finnegan.
I was fixing to say, I don't hardly spend it.
Mr. Beecham, we need to talk.
Yeah, he's buying trucks and stuff, that's
It's
not.
not my expenditure, that's countywide. You look at my precinct 1 and we'll talk.
I want you to talk to your supervisor.
All right, anyone else? Yep.
I don't have anything, Judge.
All right. Commissioner Finnegan,
I don't have anything, sir.
Commissioner Mueller.
Just to comment on, well, he left, Bob's comment about not spending money, that was, some of that was done by, we get down to the end of the year and things always get a little tight, and so I told my guys, I said, we've got 4 or 5 projects we need to work on. Let's work on the things where we've got materials laying on the yard, paid for, ready to go, and that's what we concentrated on the last couple of months. we had some culverts to install. We went and installed them, and that's a good way to manage at the end of the year. Just finish some things up, and that's what we've been working on and trying to get ready for a busy spring. And I guess good news is we're hauling rock, Jeff, and moving forward with projects as the weather will allow, so.
And I guess, Mark, as Leon commented, I know the guys have talked, they're gonna pull off and do your millings at some point, but I
Yeah.
didn't know when that was coordinated
Next
for.
Monday.
Next Monday? Okay.
What else do you need, Mark? Do you need a blade? Do you need,
Yeah, I was hoping we could get Rex out there to.
well, I bet you can't
Can
just
we-
get Leon to coordinate with Jerry.
Yeah.
That'd be
And
the best
would-
way to handle that.
Mark, let's also use as many 15 yards as we can in conjunction, since it's short
Okay.
haul,
Yeah.
it'll just
Get it knocked
expedite it.
out.
Yeah, because I can
So-
send a couple guys over with that too.
Yeah.
It'd make it a lot faster.
Yeah, we can knock that out.
And when we get back from
Day and a half.
our training conference, maybe we can go back to work on that other material and see what we can come up
Yeah.
with and see if we can, if nothing else, I'd like to go get a couple loads and just go work with it, make sure it's gonna be what we think it is. And I bet we could probably work that out. So, anyway, okay.
Mr. Watts?
Yes, I got a note here from Matt a while ago, and he wants to make sure that he understands how we're going to track our time on this deal, and which Barry had been going over different examples with me, and I've had Debbie build some spreadsheets as well, but for example, right this instant, I should have the number of hauls and the amount of time in those hauls in conjunction with the freight charge. And I guess I need to get clarification from Matt and Chris, because I thought the haul would represent that in its entirety, but apparently not.
Well, I would think that the FEMA rate that we're looking at on hauling materials would include the labor.
Well, you would think so, but I don't think that's the way he's seeing it, that we
can break
need
it
a
out if
time.
we need to.
I think I don't know, we gotta look at it and see.
We can break it out and see, and I think we'll know, Jeff, I hadn't done this, but I will, we need to compare what our bid rate was with the FEMA rate. And I think that'll tell us where we are. I've not done that, but I'll do that.
Well, and our bid rate, Barry, ranged, of course, considering where, but typically $15 a ton.
Which the FEMA rate should, I would assume, be a mile rate. So we'd have to add the distance.
Yeah, I need to check, I have that for you, and I'll get you a copy here in a
That's-
minute.
I think we need to compare those two, and I think we'll know whether we've got labor.
But-
If we don't, we break it out. It's just a matter of.
But we can use Debbie, and maybe there's a summation sheet as we get rolling for weekly, but we do need to, because this caught us right at the last minute last time without recording a total amount of our time in those projects. We caught some equipment and things, but we weren't paying attention to the time, and maybe we document that time. And we can start a summary, or we can start a form sheet and then just modify it as y'all see things that need to come into it, or add or slot for those things. But I want to stay on top of that, so we've got, Chris has got the information as we
And that's all
go.
for the grant purpose, right?
It's the
If
grant
that's the
purpose.
case, then you need to be throwing in the, if we're going to, yesterday, sending them guys to scout the new location, I mean, that's all time that's gonna go to
That's
it.
correct. Yeah.
So that's gonna be up to the foreman to keep track of that time, to push it on to Debbie. If Debbie's gonna do a spreadsheet, where to have those foremen push all that time for any of these road projects to her.
Yeah. And I just wonder, so just like the foreman's trip, does it tag to specific roads, or does it tag to, how do we track that?
Break it out as a percentage of.
Of each road, maybe, or put it on a, okay.
I guess you could do it either way.
It'd probably be easier by the road, because otherwise it's just gonna be a number setting outside of a project.
Well, it's just like I told Jerry, I said, when they start hauling to our precinct, they're gonna go to the document, every little thing. I mean, and you can always pull it back off, but if you've got it on
Right.
the sheet on a day-by-day basis, later on, it's a lot easier to say, well, that doesn't apply, take it off, and why would we do that? That's what gets you in trouble.
Right.
So every load, when do we start, when do
Sure.
we quit, how many miles to put on the truck, read
Yeah.
the hubs.
Yep.
And if you got that down, you can go back and sort it out, but when you don't have it, that's when
That's
you,
right, that's
when
right.
you're scrambling.
Yep.
So just wear it out.
And Debbie can coordinate, she can get
She'd
from
be
Jack
great
each
to put
day
on,
who's in the trucks and
Yeah.
what the time was spent, because they've been utilizing a full day for the
Yeah.
most part to,
Yeah, that'll be
make-
pretty easy to break out
Mhm.
on
On
time.
that
If we
wheel.
need to, I don't know, but we'll find out.
but when we get separated a little bit, Mickey goes, puts in a culvert out there on one of these roads, while you're working on something
Yeah.
different, we're just gonna have to stay making sure we're turning in that information, because Chris is real good about compiling.
When we go to running that milling machine, we're gonna have to know how many people were there, were we running 2 blades, packer, all that's gonna have to, like I say, document every day.
Yeah.
And if we've got that, we're good. When you don't
And
put it
Barry, I
down,
may
you
get
in trouble.
I couldn't find what I would call, what we're calling a milling machine on the extensive list of equipment for
Yeah.
FEMA, but I'll get you to look and see.
I've not looked at it, but I will.
Just look at the highest dollar thing here.
Yeah. Like Air Force One, yeah, that's it.
But, okay, so I just want to make everybody on the same page with that we're going to need to track that accordingly then.
I know Mr. Hampton has left, but I want to go back and address his comment.
Well-
Yeah, I might be spending a lot of money, but that's all money that this whole court approved to spend,
What?
and the
Oh.
voters approved to spend.
I think he was just.
I think that was just joshing.
Yeah, he was,
I took it as a
Well,
joke.
yeah, he was.
I'd like anybody that has a question to look at precinct 1 and how the money's been spent the last 4 years, and you'll find that I've been running that precinct very frugally, so.
Yeah, he was just pulling your leg.
Well, there are people who don't listen to the whole, no, they got the whole leg, they're like.
Yeah.
So, no, good point, Commissioner. We've got County Progress Magazine, you all got that? There are some, Jim Allison opens it with the page after the president writes his deal, and once again, the Senate and the House are trying to shut us up. They've already put in bills to limit our ability to be members like Texas Association of Counties, County Judges Commissioners Association, any of those, the District and County Clerks Association, that might say anything they don't want to hear. And I want to visit with James Frank and Senator Springer on this, because Frank had taken a position at the Wichita County Republican Party that he didn't support that. He thought local officials ought to be able to go on local government dollars to Austin. Now, we don't hire lobbyists, we don't hire special staff, and I can understand some concern about the money being spent on lobbyists. But just because the lieutenant governor doesn't like anyone that doesn't agree with him, there must be a lot of those, but at any rate, we need to watch that. The other thing, Ms. Bohannon, I got through, I don't know, maybe 25 or 30 House bills, and I'd say 5 to 8 of them are messing with elections, and early voting, and registration. But if you go on the Texas Association of County websites, they list all the bills that are generally county or that are specifically by office, so you could go in there and look at those areas to see what's maybe for us, maybe what's against us. The other thing, there was a great deal of bills submitted having to do with the legalization of marijuana, or the decriminalization, or making medical marijuana like you write yourself a note and go to the doctor, or go to the local supplier in Oklahoma, and that's good enough. There's a lot to take away from that. There's probably some pros as to why I do that, because especially right now, our court system, and with the fact that we don't have anything to test the difference between marijuana and hemp, And hopefully we're gonna have a lot of hemp in this county before too awful long. You know, that's to be watched for. The other thing, there has a lot to do, there's several bills in there to deal with warrantless arrests and whether to make some things where people won't be arrested for, you know, things that have led to issues that got compounded way beyond what the initial thing was. So once again, there's always some good things, some bad things in there. It's all in the eye of the beholder, and you want to try to figure out what it is. There were a few bills dealing with weapons control or stopping weapons control. I have a feeling before it's over, we're probably going to have those divided legislatures we've had for the last couple of terms. Unfortunately, not working well together.
Just one quick comment on what you said, and I think this is important to point out. I don't know what happens in Houston, I don't know what happens in Dallas, but I know what happens in Wichita County. And I know for a fact, that you've been to Austin to testify numerous times and never spent a dime county money.
Right.
You used other resources to go, some of it your own.
Yes, sir.
I go to Austin 2 or 3 times every session, I'll be there at the end of February to testify. I've never gone down there and not talked about county business, not talked about something that Farm Bureau's backing and something that deals with soil and water conservation. And most of the time, there's no county dollars spent. I'm not gonna miss the opportunity while I'm there to talk to Senator Perry or whoever I can run into about something that's on the floor. And I think people need to realize that we're not just going on a dadgum vacation to Austin, Texas to testify. We're being very frugal with county money.
We're no less elected to represent our constituency
exactly
than
right.
Governor Abbott, so bottom line.
But
But
give
if
me
the
a,
Farm Bureau wants to send me down there to testify for something, I never miss the opportunity
well,
to visit with a couple of people about something that addresses Wichita County.
Yeah.
And I think we all take advantage
well,
of
so,
that.
Judge, what is an
It matters.
example of one they're in reference to?
I mean, like what association?
No, what is an example of us lobbying, our,
When they were going to limit taxes to a maximum of 3.5% without an election.
and us talking to them about
Going down
that?
there- Yeah, going down there and talking against it. The previous bill, and I didn't get this one, the enlarged version, but, or enhanced version, is the fact that you could come down there, if you're invited, you can come at your own expense and speak, as long as you're gonna talk for them, is the way the other one read. We won't be invited very often.
Yeah, I like that.
So,
Yeah.
but Lori, I was worried about things I saw had to do with voter registration and early voting.
I'll go look it up.
And I only read the 10-word, roughly 10 words they put in there on all of those.
I'm supposed to be in a virtual county district clerk conference starting tomorrow, so I imagine it'll get addressed
Yeah.
there. Because we do have lobbyists.
Yeah.
But
Well, we call them resource people. And they are staff members. They are not registered lobbyists.
yeah, I think
But they generally speaking, and members of the legislature often call Texas Association of Counties and say, give me the pros and cons as you see them of this. And they're an excellent resource. And they don't take those positions. Our County Judges Commissioners Association may take a stronger position to represent what the board and the membership have said is our position. And it's on those two, silencing bills that we've got a pretty strong position of, you shouldn't be doing that. And like I say, I was tickled at Wichita County Republican Party, and I don't think anyone brought it up at the Democratic convention, but, is that, no, we want our people to be able to go down there, and we do expect that they're an employee of the governmental agency that they should go at that expense. So,
Well, Judge, it's no different than when this court is making a decision, let's just say that affects fire departments. I wanna talk to the fire chief.
Yeah.
I wanna ask him, will this work?
How does it affect you?
Is this gonna be good? Is it gonna be bad? Because I don't do that every day. And why would you not wanna do that? That is so vitally important to the process.
What is kind of disappointing is, now I did get a call, the other day about a bill that Representative Frank was working on. I told him there was already another representative a little farther down the line on that, so they may back off and not try to introduce two similar bills, but put the things together on them. So it's nice when they do reach out to us and ask us about
Yes.
this. I wish they would do more of that. So,
But you really think then if they're pushing to, have an increase of 1%, they don't want us there speaking to them, if we're in the capacity of a county commissioner?
no, I don't believe they do. Not all of them, and some of them, and I don't think there's gonna be as many of them that read for that before that did that. I hear no mention of anybody other than our association bringing up unfunded mandates or trying, and I have a feeling we're gonna see, the budget is big, anybody you talk to. So those special funds that they use to balance the budget, but they haven't turned loose of any of that money in the last 2 years, it's probably gonna be even worse, they're gonna hold more of it. And I have a feeling they're gonna slide things, we're gonna see lower funding on indigent defense probably. And there's gonna be a strong effort to push more Medicaid expense.
Medicaid deal's gonna be a
Yeah.
budget
Yeah.
issue. If what happens, if what they're suspecting happens and Texas is forced to swallow the big bill, that's gonna be a buster, because that could be, I've heard 4.5 billion. That'll get you up there.
Yeah. Okay, we do have a closed session. Friday is no work session, ought to be gone, yes, sir.
Just a quick thing, Mickey, did you get the Melvin's contact that Nancy reached out to on the active shooter office deal? Did you get?
I received an email.
Okay.
I'm signed up for it.
Okay. And I had 2 extra papers, Judge, one on digital communication, one on Yates. Is that part, were we doing something with that?
The Yates, that's just our weekly report, it's usually attached to the
okay.
back of our agenda.
Oh, okay.
It just wasn't.
And
Apparently I didn't get it done in time.
the virtual breakfast for TAC online, if y'all haven't done that, it's very informative. It's a lot of these things the judge is talking about are on there, and
7 a.m. on Tuesday morning.
yeah, it doesn't take long. So they're keep it right to an hour, so.
7 a.m.? I thought we were there anyway. Is
No,
it something
this is
further?
every Tuesday.
Oh,
Yeah, they probably won't do it this
Yeah.
week, but.
Those digital donuts,
They're
The judge and I've actually been and ate with him one
Yeah.
time, it's pretty good.
pretty good.
Back before we got into all this.
all right, I would like to announce that we're going into closed executive session pursuant to section 551